So we've already brought you the 30 athletes that will be competing at this year's World's Strongest Man, but we've seen and heard a lot of questions about why certain athletes aren't competing. So we've been diving in deep, finding out, and we're bringing you the athletes that are not competing at this year's Worlds. So we've been getting messages, seeing posts, why such and such not competing, why such and such not competing. So we did a bit of delving in deep and...
Well, for a lot of it, to be fair, we didn't have to dive that deep. It wasn't rocket science, but we thought we'd bring them all together because it feels like we've lost a lot this year.
There are a lot of big names missing. Obviously, some major players that competed in last year's World's Strongest Man. We're going to go through that in a second. Obviously, there's been injuries and there's been late call-ups to things. So let's dive into it and get to the facts.
So let's start with a super easy one. Although, if you are just a very, very casual fan of Strongman who only watches World's Strongest Man, it may not be that obvious to you, but Brian Shaw is not competing at Worlds this year. Last year was his final World's Strongest Man competition, and the Strongest Man on Earth was his final pro competition ever.
Yeah. And the same with Mark Felix. I've seen a lot of people saying, why is Felix not competing? Mark Felix did 18 World's Strongest Man competitions. Last year he announced that it would be his last one, and he's sticking to that. He's focusing on some smaller shows, focusing on the Masters shows, but no more Worlds for Mark Felix.
Now this is a more interesting one. Hafthor Bjornsson. Obviously Thor has returned this year to Strongman. His first return competition was the Arnold Strongman Classic in Ohio. Then he also did the Arnold's UK. He is confirmed for the Strongest Man on Earth, and he will be doing the Rogue Invitational, but he is not doing the World's Strongest Man. Thor has been really open and honest, and he has said he will not do the World's Strongest Man because he does not want to work with one of the organisers there.
Yeah, this one makes me sad. I have tried to sort of help a bit of...
Try to mediate.
Yeah, because, you know, I get on with both parties. I'm so excited that Thor is back in Strongman. Really, really looking forward to seeing some of the comps he's going to do. It was great to see him at the Arnolds. I'd love to see Thor back at World's Strongest Man. Maybe they can sort out differences in the future. However, right now, Thor has said he's done the Arnolds, UK Arnolds. He's going to do Iceland's Strongest Man.
Yes, he is, yeah.
The Shaw Classic and the Rogue Invitation. So a busy year, actually, for someone coming straight back into it. He's improving all the time. I think it's quite exciting that he's back in the sport, but unfortunately no Thor at this year's Worlds. Another missing athlete that makes me sad is Mateusz Kieliskowski. It was so good seeing him in decent shape at the Arnolds this year. I was excited for, he was supposed to be competing at Europe. He was going to do World's Strongest Man, other shows as well. Unfortunately, in his last heavy yoke session, he tore his Achilles. He has had surgery. He's on the mend. He wants to be back later in the year for other shows. Just means, unfortunately, it happens in Strongman. We're going to see it a few more times through this list. Injuries costing an athlete a place.
Another big name in the sport and someone who will be very missed at this year's Worlds is the 2019 champion Martins Licis. So Martins competed at the Arnold USA this year. He wasn't himself at all. He said he's really been suffering with his sciatica, and for that reason he decided to pull out of the World's Strongest Man.
Yeah, he's having a bit of time focusing on strength unknown, trying to get his body back to where it was. We would love to see Martins back to his best, but it's a brutal sport, and you do see this. You get these guys, they're good, get better and better, and they hit this peak. And we never know when that peak is going to be. No. But at the moment, it doesn't seem like he can get back to it. I really hope he can.
I hope he can.
He's an amazing athlete, amazing competitor, and he's going to be missed once again, not being able to see him at Worlds. So another injury situation, Oleksii Novikov injured his bicep at Europe's Strongest Man a few weeks ago. Not severely, however, enough to force him out of World's Strongest Man. Oleksii's an athlete that wants to come in shape. We have seen that progress starting to get back to his best. He was looking better at the Arnolds. However, he has had these small injuries that have been holding him back a little bit. And even with those injuries, he still did well at Europe's. He needs that time to get himself fresh, fully focused, and hopefully again we see him competing later in the year.
The next one I think is one of the more interesting cases. So it's Maxime Boudreault. He is a Canadian athlete, and his last two appearances at the World's Strongest Man, he placed third and then fifth. So a really great strongman, especially at this competition.
World, he's very good.
Yes. Now, Maxime everyone was kind of waiting for the Maxime announcement. He's one of those sort of staple names now, isn't he? However, he didn't do any Giants live shows last year. He had a quieter year because he injured himself last year as well. He broke his shin before World's Strongest Man. Now, Max did do the Arnold's USA and then the Arnold's UK. He went into actually with a lat injury. He injured himself in the USA show. Max did eventually get a very late invitation to the competition, but ended up turning it down because it left him no time to prepare. And with him sort of concentrating on his recovery, he didn't want to take that risk and then ruin himself for the rest of the year.
Yeah, he wants time to prepare and come in shape. Understandable. He's been third at the World's Strongest Man before. He wants to make sure he's in shape for it, and also not re-injure the lat that he hurt at the Arnold Strongman Classic. So another name I've seen a lot of talk about is Rongo Keene. Now, Rongo has made a video about this himself. He, unfortunately, has just not been invited. He spent a lot of money trying to sort out a visa. He is free to fly now to the USA. He's done a lot to make sure he can get in that position where he can travel. He did get one opportunity to compete in the Giants Live last year. Unfortunately, as he travelled over, he got very, very sick and ended up doing poorly. However, he ended up second at the Magnus Ferguson Classic. He's done very well in other shows. We would love to see him at Worlds, but unfortunately, no invitation for Rongo.
Next, we have someone I was petitioning for, Licis Hatton, who last year won America's Strongest Man, and then this year he competed in and placed third at the Arnold UK. Now, there was, I started a bit of a, well, I didn't start it. It was going on anyway. I just joined in the fun, to be honest. A bit of a petition. Where is Licis Hatton? But Licis did end up getting, again, a very late invitation to the World's Strongest Man. He had commitments that he couldn't get out of. He runs the Rainer Classic. He said maybe if it had been a much earlier invitation, he could have got someone to step into that role for him there, to leave him free to compete. But as it stands, it was too late for him.
It's a difficult situation, you know. If it was me, I would have taken the opportunity. I think sometimes just getting yourself in with the promoters, and it can be a useful thing to do. Even going as a reserve to Worlds gives you experience of coping with that type of competition. You know?
I should point out as well, though, he was sick after the Arnold's.
No, I appreciate that. And I sort of admire his stand on it because, like I'm saying, I would have taken it. Yeah. However, it takes balls to turn down an invitation as well. So, you know, fair play to Licis. I know he's got some big opportunities coming up this year and wish him the absolute best. We were super impressed with what he did. However, we do want to point out that he did receive an invitation, as did most of these guys. That, you know, there's been a lot of people that have got invites that people are talking about that just turned down the invitation.
So those were the main names on the list. These are the names that keep popping up time and time again. There are other names, but I mean, we could go on all day, couldn't we?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of strongmen, obviously, but they're the kind of real names that we're seeing time and time again. Obviously, unfortunate for some of those reasons. Injuries have actually cost athletes that were invited to drop out. Obviously, Shane Flowers has pulled out, a couple of others. However, we still have an amazing lineup at World's Strongest Man. I'm super excited to get closer and closer and see who does take the crown of 2024 World's Strongest Man. Liz and myself, super strongman fans, we love lots of the major shows. World's Strongest Man is still the biggest in terms of the crown, the worldwide recognition in terms of general people finding out more about the sport. Yes, we've got the hardcore fans that love the Shaw Classic, that love the Rogue Invitational, Arnold's as well. Mega show, but the World's Strongest Man still gets the biggest reach out of everyone. So it is a major contest. We want it to continue to get better. That's why we make these videos. Not everything that World's Strongest Man do is perfect by any means. I'm quite vocal about that. We want things to be better. Athletes should be getting invites earlier. We should have a better structure to get athletes to World's Strongest Man. But we've got our 30. We wish every single one of them the best of luck. The athletes that haven't made it this year, keep training hard, keep your heads up, keep working. You will get there. And as always, guys, let us know your thoughts. And don't forget, like, share, and subscribe to the channel.